Hi, everyone. This is Lisa Mizels. Welcome to the Empowered Living Show. I'm really excited today because my guest is going to be speaking about a subject that is I've always loved.
Mm.
And so I'm really excited. Let me just tell you a little bit about her. She's going to be talking about self-connection and why this is crucial for the success of anything you pursue in life. And it's so true. So true. Um, the foundation of this dialogue will revolve around true, deep self-love as a reoccurring theme. And you'll evolve from a woman who's focused on doing to a woman who's focused on being. And this is embodying all that you are. A self-connected woman is one that nourishes, renews, and fortifies her mind, body, spirit, and energy as part of her lifestyle. She is a full spirit, a clear mind, and a well and energized body that she treats as a divine living temple. So today we're going to be talking about getting clear on your purpose and your calling in life. And this
Yes.
is something that so many people, especially around, these days, this year, are really clamoring for. They're really in search of. So this is a perfect timing. And she'll be talking about living more fully into your feminine power and radiance, and how to release and begin to heal from those old patterns that make your heart that have closed your heart so that you're not able to receive.
Yes.
It keeps your defenses up, and it causes you to be overly sensitive or easily angered. And she's also going to talk about the power of the spoken word, self-talk that consistently feeds our minds and ultimately creates our beliefs, feeds the beliefs. So today, Alicia Houston is my guest, and she's a transformational speaker, mentor, and soon-to-be published author. And we're going to have to talk about that. Yeah, congratulations. Alicia practices living her life by divine design.
Yeah.
She knows how you think and feel on the inside will be revealed on the outside. And she empowers women to elevate their lives by shifting their mindset and sustaining their spirit.
Yeah.
She enjoys working with passionate and influential women who are personally invested in the way that they show up and connect with others in all aspects of their lives.
Yes.
So welcome, Alicia.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's such an honor, and I've been excited all day.
You're welcome. And honestly, this is my work as well. And it's of course our languaging is different, and maybe the people who we talk to are different, but feeling my radio show used to be called Women Reconnecting. And so it is about connecting with our essence.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Our soul essence. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about yourself and how you became empowered.
All right.
A little bit about your story, and then we can dive into how to identify these beliefs.
Amazing. So I have been an entrepreneur since 2004, and I was working in corporate at the time, and there was the Good Old Boys Club. And there was just one day that I made a decision with a couple of other women, made a decision that we can do this and we can do it better. So with that decision came the action, and we began to put the plan in place to move forward to create our own business, which opened on my birthday, November 15th, 2004.
Oh my goodness. So happy belated birthday.
Thank you. So we created a business because, as we saw in corporate, you were shamed as a woman for taking time for your kids. If they were ill, you were shamed almost for being a single mother. And you were made to feel guilty for taking time for yourself, which is crucial to your health, the foundation of your health. And so we had a vision to create a business that was different and supported women, who they were and what they were bringing to the table. And it was funny because they didn't even have this languaging at that time, didn't even know what we were doing, but just in our soul, we knew what we wanted to create.
Yep. Yeah.
So fast forward to 2014. Now, mind you, from 2004 to 2014, many peaks and valleys in the world of entrepreneurship. And we started our business, and we actually ran it as a corporate entity because we had employees. We had, 20 employees, all of that. So I became the CEO of that company in 2008, right when the stock market crashed. So talk about peaks and valleys, talk about really digging deep into your spirit, talk about really connecting with your just God, just like, please, we don't want people to have to lose their jobs because we knew people had families. You're connected at that point. So we were able to really just come together as a community, really as a collective in the business, and really just cut hours, and nobody had to be laid off.
Wow.
Everyone worked together. And as I said, fast forward to 2014, we grew. We grew into the seven figures, into the double seven figures. And we were approached to be purchased. And in 2014, the business that we started in 2004 was purchased.
I've got chills as you talk about this. That's amazing.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. What?
And it was crucial to us, though, even in that purchase, that whole transaction, that particular company that was coming on board embodied our values and embodied what was just imperative to the families that were represented in that company. And it is exactly what we called forth. It showed up, and it was amazing. And so to this day, everything, they are continuing to thrive and grow. Employees are still there, loving it. The culture is fantastic. And I'm still on board with them, because when they purchased it, they also, wanted our energy to stay. But the time will come when, it's time to part ways.
Right.
But it's been wonderful since 2004 to present, to actually grow in my own leadership abilities, to actually see where my gifts were, to learn where my passions were, to learn where I was most efficacious in helping women see their true gifts and standing in their brilliance and in their power. So I learned so much. It wasn't just me being a boss per se to these other women. There was so much I learned about my true self, my true inner being, and my strength, my resilience. And it's been a wonderful journey, and I wouldn't change anything. Even in the pain, I wouldn't change anything.
Well, and that's when we, unfortunately, that's when we grow the most. That's when we learn the most. And we have to have I just wrote an article about the ups and downs, and we have to have the ups and downs. It's essential to how we grow.
Yes.
So what is the difference between your company that where you were before and the company that you have now?
Okay, so where I was before, it was a brick and mortar. We were a brick and mortar business. So as I said, we ran it as a corporate entity. It was a corporate entity. I had, I was the CEO. So we had the full on tier, the corporate culture. We did all of the trainings, all of the DISC assessments, all of the Fred Priors, all of that, So that's exactly what we're running. So the difference now is that I work with influential women in a different way. And I learned it's so much more. It's not just about those hard skills, because those are very important in strategy, but it's also important to know really who you are, because at the end of the day and at the beginning of each day, you are the integral piece that deals with your teams, that deals with your families, and that deals with this world. And we have to show up as our best selves.
Yeah.
And that comes with being connected to who you truly are, not who someone told you were, but who you truly are.
So how do people discover that?
So the biggest thing that we're missing today is this world is busy. We have technology, we have cell phones, we have computers, our kids have computers. It's just busy. So really how you begin to discover who you are is you get quiet. That is really the first step, because you have to be quiet to hear the divine downloads that are being spoken to you in those whispers. You have to get quiet to get real with yourself and to own your shortcomings and to own your strengths as well. So in the quiet, and I'm not even talking about meditation yet, just in the quiet and stillness, answers begin to reveal themselves to you. And you have to remain open. You have to remain open to what is being shown and revealed to you, what the divine downloads are that are coming forth. So the first thing that when I started to realize that I was running a very chaotic life, I was up to 220 pounds, and everything was chaos. What I realized was my quiet was I implemented a workout system for myself. I just decided that I was going to get healthy. And that became my solace. When I would work out in the morning, I could hear the divine voice, and I was clear. So many things just began to get clear. So what that quiet time looks like for you, it could be meditation, it could be working out, it could be out in nature, it could just be sitting in a chair with a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. So you cannot put a parameter on what that looks like. And I think many times that's what's done. You must do it this way. No, you don't need to do it any way except the way that works for you. And that was the start. It's getting quiet or getting alone time, enough with yourself that is quiet time, whether it's working out or whatever, that you're able to hear. You're able to hear the voice of the divine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what does, if somebody doesn't recognize how do you teach people to recognize the whispers?
So the whispers come in the form of, many times I tell them, they're going to sound like your own voice many times, because you are most familiar with your own voice. So you will hear the whispers. You will hear, all of a sudden, an idea or a thought will come into your head. So I work, just out of the blue. Or somebody will say something and you're like, oh my goodness, it inspires another thought. So I'm very much aware of telling people, don't dismiss anything. And the best thing to do too is whenever you have a thought, write it down, because you think you're going to remember it. You're not going to remember it. You're not going to remember all the divine inspiration that comes to you, because sometimes the downloads are they're huge and they are continuous. So really, when I teach people, don't dismiss anything that comes as a whisper. Don't dismiss anything that comes as a small voice. Don't dismiss anything that somebody says that is directly related to something that you have been petitioning for, because I guarantee you that is an answer.
And it's really interesting that when you start paying attention, you see it more and more and more.
Yes.
And I always tell people to pay attention to your energy level too. People go, they ask, how do I know if this is true guidance? How do I know if this is really something that I should be listening?
And when something is for you, you have to just trust sometimes too. You have to trust yourself, because a vision that is placed upon your heart may not be placed upon somebody else's heart. And if you see if you see that vision, then you have to believe and you have to trust and you have to get into action that vision is for you. Yes. And sometimes we have to be careful too about discussing that divine download or that small voice with someone else who doesn't have the spirit of what you are calling in, and they can really shut it down. And sometimes they don't mean to be crass or rude or dismiss you, but they don't have that same vision. My mom was the same way when I started my business in 2004. I was a single mom at that time. I had 2 children. And she said, what are you doing? What do you mean you're leaving your job? And you know what, Lisa? I knew in my gut, I knew I was going to be successful. I knew that there was no doubt that this was for me. So that passion, you can't just have that passion, but you've also got to have that action. And you also have to have a little bit of tunnel vision too. And you have to be able to kind of tell people when to step off.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why you don't want to tell everybody, because they don't feel that. I mean, when you have a calling, it's like a pulling forward, like you're being
Yes.
pulled.
Yes. Like you said, the energy, it actually pulls you in. You'll dream about it. You can be sitting in an office talking to someone and all of a sudden a flash will come across. And you're like, oh my gosh, I just totally lost what that person was saying. Cause I'm completely, I had a sight, a vision.
Yes.
So that's really where it starts. And I think so many times, as I said, we dismiss those. It's time to stop dismissing those, because what you're asking for is being delivered to you. It's being revealed. And so you have to be okay with saying, oh, the answers may not come in the manner that I expect them to come. We have expectations, and we put limitations on what God in the universe what he sets into motion in the universe for you. Connections with people, opportunities, the simple holding a door open for someone. Next thing you know, you are having this conversation and you're like, oh my goodness, I didn't even realize that you were this person. So there are so many divine connections that we think have to come and look a certain way, that we overlook what we've been asking for.
Yeah. So talk about the surrender.
Oh.
Yeah, talk about how that
Yeah.
plays into this.
Yes. And I think many times people say, surrender. What do you mean? Just surrender and don't do anything? I don't mean just surrender and say, oh, I'm just going to just let it go. I'm not going to do anything. And I'll give you an example of surrender. When the stock market crashed in '08, and we were really trying to scramble. We were trying to figure it all out. Okay, we're going to do this. We're going to do that. But everything we were trying was not working. I mean, everything. Business just even seemed to be falling off even more. And I remember going into my office, closing the door and getting on my knees. And I said, okay, God, I'm giving this to you. And you know what? Your creator you may not call him God. You may call him by a different name, but you know what? You must know that there is something bigger than you. There is an energy and there is a creator out there that is bigger than you, that has divine control.
Yes.
So I went in my office and I said, I'm tired. I said, I'm going to give it to you and I'm just going to listen. And you know what? When I listened, because we were even having so much, there was even so much, just the energy was negative and headbutting in the office because everybody was it was fear. It was fear.
Yeah.
And so there was so much negativity and it was just ugly. And I just went and surrendered. Do you know, one of my top employees said, you know what? I was thinking I would be willing to, cut some of my hours so no one it just when I said, I'm done, this is bigger than me. I need help. And I opened myself up to receiving the help, not putting parameters on the cursed hows, as Mike Dooley says. No, not worrying about the how, just saying, I need help. And what does that look like? I mean, even some of the most stubborn employees fell in line with ease and grace.
Yeah, and that's how we want to live, with ease and grace.
Yes.
And our ego wants to control the outcome.
Ooh, yes.
We have this expectation, it has to look like this. So yeah, letting it go and just saying, it is what it is.
Right. And we do that, Lisa, in every aspect of our life, in relationships, and the colleges that our children are supposed to go to, and how they are supposed to grow up, and how they are supposed to be in life. And we don't understand the peace that comes if we surrender. You absolutely have the end goal. That's what you have, the end goal in mind. But the steps, the journey to get there can be very different, because it's different for each of us,
Yes. And sometimes it feels like, you're so impatient because you want it so bad.
Yes.
And it's like, why isn't this happening? I'm doing all this stuff right.
Yes.
Why isn't it? It's like, it's not time.
It's not your time. Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Yes, Lisa. And just as an example of that, I was saying, I want to be an author. I want to write a book. I want to do this. I want to do that. But everything that I was doing was preparing me for that desire, for that dream. Everything was preparing me for that. And then one day I got the call. I wasn't even expecting it, hadn't even thought about it. I got the call out of the blue to be a contributing author to an amazing book called Success Through Failing.
Ah,
So, oh, honey.
it's like
Mm,
perfect.
yes. So when you said that in the beginning of the top of the hour, I was like, oh, she doesn't even know how much synchronicity this has.
Oh, that's yeah. I mean, and it
Yes.
is, and you just have to pay attention to it. So,
Yes.
so talk about how do people actually identify their core
Mm,
desires? Like, how do
mm.
we really get in tune with
Okay.
what it is?
So getting in tune, you must have clarity to get in tune. And And there was a time when I thought I knew what I wanted to do. And because I had that huge epiphany when I lost that weight, I went into being a certified health coach. And I thought this is what I was going to do. And I did everything and I finished, got certified, had a wonderful, it was great. But I also knew in the pit of my spirit, this is not for me. I'm not loving this. Like, this is cool. I'm good at it, but I am not loving it. So the first step, honestly, is being very clear. Who are you? What do you want? Not what your mom said you wanted, not what was told to you that you wanted. What do you want? And really write it down. Be honest with yourself. And we are made to feel shame if we want to be a millionaire, if we want to, that's the end result of everything you create. But what do you want? Do you want to work with children? How do you want to be a contribution? What is your passion? What lights you up? Because that is the first thing you must do. You must get clear on what the desires of your heart are, not anybody else's. And we get caught up in that many times. I got caught up in trying to please my parents. When
Mhm.
I was younger, I wanted them to love me and love what I did. And so that is the first step that I will tell anyone, any woman. Get clear. Even in leadership roles, you have some restrictions in leadership, absolutely, because you're in a corporate setting. There are certain things you can and cannot do, but you can still be very clear on who you are and how you are going to show up and how you're going to lead. And so that is crucial, is becoming very clear on what you desire, because you may be incongruent with where you are in your position.
And that feels horrible. It feels hard. It feels like struggle.
Mm, mm. And there's the difference between, like you're saying, hard and struggle and a challenge. There's a difference, because challenges grow you. But if it's a struggle and it's hard and you're depressed and you're anxious and you're always worried and you're snapping, there's a misalignment somewhere. There's a misfire, and you've got to really take stock in what's going on, and really start. What I found to really start working for a lot of women, and I see a lot of women who are very busy and high stress, really actually tuning in when those energies start to reveal themselves, and those tendencies of, you become snappy and you become angry and you become unapproachable.
Yeah.
What are some of the factors that lead to that? So that's all a part of getting really clear, because as for one woman, we saw that really she's not good with leading people. She's an amazing individual contributor,
Mhm.
but she doesn't really have the skill set to lead people, and that's okay. So you have to be okay with understanding who you are, and that becomes very clear when you are connected to yourself and connected to your spirit and are truthful, where you can actually do a true self-reflection without fluff.
And be in an environment where that's accepted. So I think
Yes.
that's really important.
Ooh, that's good.
I heard
That's good.
somebody in a conference stand up and say, you know what? I don't like people. I like to
Mm,
be in the background. I like to work with, technology. And I've always felt bad about it. And you know what? That is so revealing.
mm,
So, um, well, I can't think of the word, but for her, it was
yes.
like amazing for her to be able to say that, and for everybody else to be supportive of it. You
Yes.
don't have to
Yes.
be in a box.
Exactly.
I hate
Exactly.
a box.
I don't like being in a box either, Lisa. And I agree with you. And that's why, and let's be very real. I'm very aware of the corporate culture. You must show up in a certain way.
Yes.
You must show up in a certain way. There are certain expectations, but in those expectations, there are still ways to represent you and to be you. So, and of course, there are certain corporate cultures and certain departments within various corporations where you can show up differently in different departments. So, to be perfectly honest, and just come on down front with it, there is no one size fits all.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's where just kind of having the dialogue and having, like you're saying, that one individual, power to her for saying that I just don't like people.
Right.
You know, my business partner, she's not good with people. And she was like, I just don't like people. I don't want to deal with people.
Yeah.
And it was great because we were able to utilize her amazing skill set, her analytical skill set,
Exactly.
rock on with metrics and everything else. And so being able to help women position themselves to even have those conversations with their supervisors or their managers, and even helping women who are directors and VPs actually notice that in the people that report to them as well, to be tuned in enough to their team to lead appropriately and do their team justice.
So important.
Yes, yes. There are so many people who are half in and half out. And when you show up in leadership, that is not an option, because that team, you can create a dynamic team. I have created dynamic teams, and my company was dynamic. My employees were loyal. And that's because of how I showed up. I was a leader, but I also was very authentic, and I was very, if I made an error, I owned my error. I had a very employee driven company, so ideas were welcome. You know, they may not always be implemented,
Right.
but I was very communicative to my employees. I believe in dialogue, and you're not going to be able to show up as a strong leader if you are not communicating effectively. And you have to talk to your employees and find out where there could be some misunderstandings, because people do have misunderstandings, and you have to rectify them because they will fill in the gaps themselves.
Well, it's like, I always tell people it's find out what motivates them. What are their talents? Where can they be in joy in their job?
Yes.
Yeah. Because
that
otherwise,
does exist.
if you're not in joy in your job or in whatever you're doing, life is hard.
It is. It's very hard. And it shows up in everything you do as hard too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you know, we're almost out of time, and I can't believe it.
No way.
So I could just sit here and talk to you forever. But are there any last points before you talk about your
Yes. Yes. Just as we are talking about just women in leadership, we are very special. Women in leadership, feminine leadership is something that we have cornered the market on. And what we have to do is, as we show up and we exercise true feminine leadership, that's really sitting back in a state of being. And it's sitting back in a state of magnetism, and you're calling things in. It's a presence. It's an embodiment. So when you walk down the hall, they know she's approachable, but she don't play either.
There's some magic about her. Yeah.
There's something there that is just, I can't put my finger on it. And we have to live in that feminine leadership, that feminine brilliance, that power that is bestowed upon us as women. We go in and we try to act in this masculine way, and it does not serve us. And we are always judged incorrectly. Now, of course, it should absolutely be present. There is a room for that masculine tendency, because you need structure. Sometimes you do have to have more of yes, it's balance. It's balance. But the feminine leadership and the feminine presence that we have been divinely given in who we are must always lead. And when we lead with that, we will always feel fulfilled and connected to our true authentic selves.
Oh my gosh, I've loved this, and I'm just going to really quickly tell everybody, because this will cut off.
Okay. Ooh.
I'll notice. So I just want to let everybody know to go to the Empowered Living Facebook group for the replay and for Alicia's free gift. And
Yes.
Alicia, do you want to talk about real quick about your?
Yes. Quickly, free gift. I am going to be doing an affirmation challenge. Affirmations is the power of the spoken word, because your monologue in your mind becomes the dialogue you have with others, and in turn becomes the creation of your reality. So I am all about doing an affirmation challenge, because affirmations are all over my house, and affirmations really reprogram the subconscious mind. People think that they're a farce. Let me tell you something. I called in a 7-figure sale of my business with affirmations and other actions that I implemented to bring things to life. So I am excited to share this with other women and for others to be a part of this collective energy, because when you have that collective energy, even more creates. So it is absolutely my honor to be running this challenge, and it's going to be fun. I am excited to see what shows up for everyone. Just, oh my gosh, like, it's juicy.
Yeah, no, that's so true, because it's a habit. It takes a habit. So a challenge is a perfect opportunity
Yes.
for us to develop that
Yes.
habit of positive self-talk. I
Yes.
love that.
Yes.
I love that. Well, thank you so much, Alicia, for being here with us.
Pleasure.
And
My
thank you, everybody that showed up. I'm so grateful for everybody that showed up.
And
And
you can find me on Facebook at the Alicia Houston, and that's Alicia ALYCIA, and Houston HUSTON. The Alicia Houston. You will find my my business page. I'm on you can find all my Instagram and all that right there.
perfect. And also, if you want to have a dialogue about this particular talk, then come into the Facebook group Empowered Living, and then we can go ahead and under her replay, we can post the
Awesome.
questions, and
Yay.
get back with you.
I'd be more than happy to be a participant in that. This is going to be fun. I am looking forward to changing the paradigm, ladies. Let's get in our feminine power.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful night.
Thank you.
Talk
You
to you
too.
later.
Bye, ladies.
Bye.